Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Pause with Elizabeth Elenor, and I wanted to talk about being empathic this morning. And I've got to start by just saying straight away that I actually used to hate the word. In fact, sometimes I still have a problem with it, right? Empaths, where do I even start? Being empathic is a really interesting thing, and it's one of those things that I'm going to, full transparency here, and something that most people might have a problem with, but I think that some people use being an empath as a way of being important or a way of being elevated somehow, like I'm elite because I'm an empath, and it used to piss me off, right? It really used to annoy me. And so I never actually identified with the word as an empath. When I was younger, I used to hang out with, good morning, Patsy, good morning, Sue. I used to live in far north Queensland, and there was a lot of spiritual people that, I'm empathic and I can't be in the shopping centre for too long because I get tuned into all the people's energies and I get drained, right? Well, that's something that you can define for yourself, right? We have choice and we are powerful beings, right? And so I used to hate the word because I used to hate the definition of the word, I suppose, until I recognized that actually I was empathic. I was the same. However, because I wasn't using it as a crutch, or I wasn't using it as something to make excuses about myself, it was something that was naturally happening to me, right? As an energy healer, and I'd love for you to put down in the chat, do you recognize yourself as an empath? Not define yourself, but do you feel, and let's just talk a minute for what is an empath. An empath is someone that can feel energy and can often take energy on from other people, right? And so there can be in the spiritual community this, elevated elitism to being an empath, or it's being used in that way. And maybe I'm going to be blasted for that, right? But it's been used in a way that sort of like, I'm separate from you, I'm better than you, or whatever. Not by everyone, but by some, right? And that's one of the reasons why it used to annoy me, because when I first spiritually woke up, it happened to me. It wasn't something that I was expecting. I actually went to a psychic because a friend of mine kept on hassling me to go to this woman. She said she was really good and I'd get to see my dad, who had died when I was 15. And so I go to this woman basically just to shut her up because she kept on annoying me. I didn't believe in psychics at the time. I was not spiritual. I'd read a couple of spiritual books, but I had no concept. None of my friends were spiritual. Wasn't something that I was being led. I obviously was from a higher perspective being led down this path, but not from my own conscious awakening, consciousness. Was I being led anywhere with this? I was just trying to be a mum to 2 kids. I was a single mum and just trying to survive, right? So anyway, I go to this psychic, I knock on her door, she lets me in, I go into this room, she puts me in the room, walks out, and she comes back and she goes, so what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong house. Like, am I supposed to be here? Anyway, she goes, obviously, obviously, no, how did she say it? She said, you can do what I do, but obviously you don't know it. And I thought, oh, here she goes, like this is the way they lure people in, right? So she starts doing a reading on me, and I'm writing stuff down on a piece of paper that she was talking about because my dad comes through. So I'm writing stuff down on a piece of paper of what he's saying, and I get this feeling on my cheek. And I looked up and she said, oh, did you feel that? And I'm like, yeah, what was that? And she said, that was your dad. He wants you to really listen to what I'm saying. So that's where it started. When I got home, I had these things touching me all over my body, and like turning around, there's no one there. So I ring her back about 2 or 3 days later and said, what's going on? This is what's happening. And she said, oh, they are all just happy that you've woken up. It'll settle down. So I said, can I rebook in? And she said, no. I'm like, the charlatan didn't want me to come again, right? So I now I understand, because she knew that I would have used her as a crutch. But I then had nothing to relate to. There was no one in my life. There was nothing. I was led. I was blindly following myself. There was no one around to support me in what was going on. And it was the best thing for me at the time, right? Now, but it was really scary to tell you the truth. It would, I didn't know what was going on. And I ended up, going through I went to a meditation circle. Where do you go, right? So I went to a meditation circle, and through that, I ended up in a group doing past life regression training for 7 years, very intense training, right? But through that process, I met a lot of people that were identifying as being an empath, and always in this space of, in that time, and this is 20 years ago, right? 25 years ago. In that time, there was this elitism to it. And there was this, I've got this guide next to me and his name's Fred, and he's a Native American Indian and he tells me all this stuff. And I'm from Sirius and I'm from Atlantis and we're Syrian sisters and blah, 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 and all this stuff that I had no idea about. So when I started finding myself, started recognizing what I was experiencing was what they were talking about, I got really shitty, because there was this thing like it was defined as something different and important and something that I didn't have. But when I realized that I was already doing it, I made a pact with myself. Good morning, Tam. Good morning, Danielle. I made a pact with myself that I was not going to make this, everyone has the opportunity to be empathic. Everyone, if I can feel my skin and I can touch and I can hurt myself, then we can feel, right? And we are in this energetic bubble, and we can train ourselves to recognize that, right? Now, some people feel it a bit better, more, not better. Some people experience it in a different way, right? But we all have the opportunity to do it. No one is better than anybody else. And so I made a pact with myself that I was going to let people know that you can do this too, right? It wasn't something that is defined as I'm special, right? So from an empathic point of view, here we are in the world, and if you find yourself as an empath, and you can feel things, that means you're really sensitive to what's going on in the world, and you need to make a choice, because we can define things and then label them within ourselves internally, and that label then creates a definition that is then how you navigate your world, right? But you can actually change that definition, and that navigation actually starts changing as well. Because if you define yourself as an empath and that you are sensitive to energy, and that means that you can't cope with stuff that's going on, then that means you're powerless to something. You're powerless to that energy. You're powerless to what's going on in your world, in your environment, right? But it's all to do with the definition and the labels and the beliefs that you've got within inside you. You have a choice. You can define this the way you need to. And there's a story that I remember hearing about a Qigong master, right? Or he was just starting out, or anyway, It's a story, and I don't remember all the details, but it was a really good story, and I'll tell it to you. Because he had this room, and he was working on clients or patients, whatever and he had this beautiful plant in the corner. And what he was doing was he was getting the energy, and he was pulling the energy off these people, and he was throwing it over to where the plant was. Well, what happened was the plant started dying. And so he saw this and went, I'm creating toxic energy out in the environment, and that plant's dying, so what's happening to me and what's happening to everybody else? And so he defined it as a toxic energy. And so he actually closed shop, right? He decided not to do it anymore, and he stopped. Now, somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened, but he recognized that he was defining it as toxic energy. So what he did was he redefined it. He decided to start up again, and he redefined the energy as excess energy. And so he put a plant in the corner again, or it might have been the same plant, don't know, right? But what he did was he redefined within himself, he redefined that it was excess energy, not toxic energy. And again, still doing the same thing, pushing this energy out, taking it off the body and throwing it to the plant. Well, the plant started thriving. Fancy that. So we can make a definition. We are powerful beings, ladies. We have a choice. We can define our world however we want to define it. So what is your choice? What is it that you are choosing to experience in your life? And where are you giving your power away to other people, to beliefs, to emotions, to definitions, to what's out there in the world? If you're watching toxic stuff on social media, on the news, on TV, tell me below what you do to keep your vibration at its peak and pure. Because I know where I'm at with my environment, with my energy. I can watch TV and disassociate from what's going on and still have compassion for the world. You know, it's horrible what's going. If you watch the news, which I haven't done for a long time, but it's full of murders and freaking, it's all negative, right? It's all negative. And I know that I can watch that and disassociate or not see it, not define it as my life, right? However, I'm not a rock, and I'm not perfect, and I'm fucking human, right? Excuse the language, but I am. Everybody is. And so eventually, if I kept on watching that day in, day out, and being programmed, eventually that starts going into my psyche, right? And I noticed all the whinging and complaining in my head. I know I don't do it anymore, but I did. All the whinging and complaining in my head about these people that say, oh, I can't go to a shopping center because it makes me, it's too intense for me. I recognize that after a few hours, if I'm in a big crowd, after a few hours, and, sometimes it's 3 hours, I start getting drained as well. And I had to recognize that, right? But the other thing is, I also recognized that when I'm in a shopping center or a big crowd, that I can hold my energy in a certain way so that it is not, other people's frequency is not impacting mine, right? I hold my energy as sacred. I know there's environments that I don't want to go into because it will affect my vibration and my frequency. And I just won't do that, right? I remember going up to the Gold Coast with Tim, and we were walking to the local shopping centre to get some water and all that sort of stuff. And there was a couple of different sets. It was late at night, and there was a couple of different sets of homeless people. And the first lot, there was about 4 people, and we walked past them, said hi. They were all, they were having a beer and they were enjoying their life and blah, blah, blah. And it was a great interaction. We went past. And then there was another one by himself in a bit of a corner. And I remember when he looked up, he looked at me and I looked at him, and energetically he threw evil at me, right? He saw my light, and he gave me that, like there was evil within him. And I'm defining evil as an energy very different to mine that didn't feel good, right? And I was aware of it straight away, because when you start recognizing who you are and you're working on clearing old patterns of behavior, clearing old identities, clearing beliefs about your past, your conditioning, clearing past lives, clearing all the stuff that is gunked all over us because we grow up with it, right? When you clear that, your energy becomes a lot cleaner and more pure. And so that energy is seen by a lot of people, right? And it is seen by energies that may not be of the light, right? And so I remember when I went past, I felt it, I experienced it in my body, and I had to shift it as we walked past. So when Tim and I came back around, I said, Tim, we need to go around the other way, or because I just didn't, I knew I could hold my own, but why do I need to? I don't need to prove to anyone. I don't need to hold that space. I just wanted to be someone walking down the goddamn street, right? And so I chose to go a different way, and I knew that I was choosing that. Because I just wanted to walk. I didn't want to have to hold my space. I didn't want to have to hold my boundaries. I didn't want to have to fight against an energy that I didn't want affecting my vibration, right? Potentially, attaching and hooking into things. Now, this might be a little bit, hardcore information for, a free Facebook Live, and for people, if this is something that you're not understanding, please just reach out and let me know in the comments, or, we can have a conversation. But our energy should be seen as our sacred space, right? And you want to be keeping it as clean and clear as possible, because you're taking that into your relationships, right? You're taking that to bed with you. You're taking that into your work environment. You're taking that into your business. And so if you don't know how to navigate that energy, then it's affecting your world, your environment, your children, your relationships, everything that's in your environment. And if you don't know how to change that and transmute it, then, then you start finding yourself spiraling and stuff going wrong in your world, and you don't know what it is. And this is where you need someone, a coach that's got, or a mentor, someone that's going to be able to support you to clean yourself up, to give you the right information of how to do that, and to release all of that stuff so that you can come back into your own space and hold that vibration, so that you can make the choice to be yourself again and be a powerful being, right? So, when you find yourself in a situation where you've got, energies that are around, and you're finding yourself absorbing information that's not yours, then It's a matter of staying in your power, right? Making a choice, feeling the feeling and going, okay, I can see that now, and I'm going to change that. I'm going to shift it. I'm going to transmute it. I'm going to transition it into something else. I'm going to use that energy to be, instead of, an aggressive anger or an aggressive energy, for example, use that to be an empowered energy, and transfer it into something to, use to your advantage if you need to, right? By changing the definition of it. So, what are you doing? What's impacting you as a human being, right? What's impacting you? What are you doing about it? How do you feel about it? Do you recognize it as yours or somebody else's, right? How are you defining it? And how are you shifting it so that it's not affecting your life, your ability, your relationships, your business, your work, whatever it might be, right? Tomorrow I start calling in the one, and I'm super excited because this is the second time we've done this particular program, and these are the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be shifting energies and redefining them so that we're attracting the right relationships into our environment. And so I'm super, super excited about it. So enjoy your week. By the way, we are renaming this Women of Light container, this Facebook group. We are renaming it. I'm super excited. It's been Women of Light for nearly, in September, it'll be 4 years. And so we are changing it now because that's what it feels right. The date that I've picked is the 23rd of August. And I tend to just check in with, I don't follow anything, I don't follow anything, not loyally, but what's the word for it? I can't see any comments, by the way. Rigidly. I don't follow anything rigidly. But I do like to look at the main calendar every so often and just see dates that I may have picked, and that just happens to be a 1 Earth. So 1 is new beginnings. So I picked the date before I actually looked at the main calendar. So 1 Earth is perfect for this particular name change. And we're going to do a ceremony, and we're going to do a card reading. And it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be, a few games, and there's going to be some giveaways and all that sort of jazz. So we're going to have some fun doing a ceremony to redefine who we're being in Women of Light. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will catch you soon.